All right. Good morning. I must say good morning. It's been that kind of a day. Welcome to the class of 2020 for an important night for you. Tonight you begin your journey to college, and our guidance department has put together a three-part workshop series, and I know that Mr. Goldman will kind of explain what this will look like for you. But tonight is really the kickoff to that. And I know that for so many families in this room that you've begun the process, you've had all the literature from schools and universities be sending literature to you about coming to the campus. And I know for many of you, you've done some college site visits and you've done some research. Well, tonight really begins the journey for you through the spring semester of junior year into the summer months, especially with the college boot camp, which I know will be talked about tonight a little bit, and then really into the fall semester of your senior year. Because before you know it, a year from now, you'll be sitting at home getting acceptance letters and making some really important decisions of where your next chapter in your life will take you. So I'm so thankful to the guidance department for putting this process together, especially to Mr. Goldman, one of our members of our guidance department. And the team that he's put together for the panel tonight is really quite, they are coming from all different perspectives. And I'll let Mr. Goldman share with you tonight who they are, and a special thanks to our partners from the universities that are here tonight for being here, and I know Mr. Goldman will introduce them as well. So ask questions. The literature in the back of the auditorium is outstanding, and we're thankful you're here tonight. So without further ado, the MC for tonight, a member of our guidance department and the coordinator of this whole process, Mr. Goldman.
Welcome everybody, I'm glad you're here. It's an exciting time, there's a lot of work to get done, but we're starting nice and early. So before we get into the whole production here, let's talk about what you picked up when you walked in. You should have a white college planning for juniors and their families workbook. This is part one of the three-part series that Mr. Brannigan was talking about. So the next one we're going to have is going to be on April 25th. And there's a reminder on the calendar in the back of this. And that is going to pick up of what you should be doing from April through the course of the summer. Okay, so we're going to go through this in a minute, and we'll explain how to do a search and all the fun stuff that's coming your way. The purple piece of paper is our agenda for the evening, the topics that we're going to be covering. The blue page is a college admissions selector for New England colleges. I have to admit, I borrowed this from Westwood High School. They did the work, I did the photocopying. Okay. But this is helpful to kind of give you an idea of the New England schools and what categories they fall in, from most competitive to less competitive schools. The pink piece of paper is the SAT versus the ACT college entrance exams. A lot of you may not be familiar with ACT. It's not as popular on the East Coast. I'm sure most of you have heard of SAT. You do not need to take both tests. And we certainly will work with you as a guidance department to advise you on which one or which one you should be taking and when you should be taking it. Probably the most important piece for us in the guidance office is this golden piece of paper. This is the program evaluation. So we will ask you at the end of the night to complete this. There's only 5 questions and a spot at the bottom to write if you'd like to do that. But we really make a lot of changes to our program every year based on the feedback we get from parents and students to make sure that we're hitting the mark and we're preparing you properly for the process. The rest of the materials that you have are just information about guidance. The orange piece of paper is just our mission, our goals, and the services we provide. As juniors, most of you are probably pretty aware of most of that at this point. The copy, I believe this is called Cherry when I looked at the wrapping on it. Cherry colored page is the guidance newsletter which just came out. Hopefully you're getting this. We send it out the first of the month or close to the first of the month through email. And the last piece is our school profile. And this tells the outside world what Middleborough High School is all about, what we offer, what the community is like, where our students go, the courses that we have. It really kind of gives them a snapshot of Middleborough High School, and that is part of your college application packet. All the colleges ask for us to send a school profile along with your transcripts. We're not going to talk about transcripts tonight, that's part 3. So that's the packet of information. We're going to go to the workbook. And here we are with where to begin. And if you open up the workbook to the inside cover, you're going to see the junior timeline. Now this is not cast in stone, but it is a very good rough timeline of when you should be getting things done. So the first thing, college planning for juniors and their families, where to begin. You can check that off because you're here tonight. Congratulations. GPAs are going to be posted in your Naviance account. That will probably happen within the next week to 2 weeks. We're still wrapping up a couple of incompletes, and we want to make sure that we have accurate GPAs so you can start doing a productive college search based on the numbers. Most importantly, you're going to see month to month is keep your grades up. There's deadlines in here for registering for SATs. In April, we have a college fair, a national college fair that comes to Boston, and so on and so forth. So when you have a chance, look over that timeline and try to cross a few things off that list as you're going along. Looking ahead, your table of contents, a word from guidance. This just explains how the process works, what you're responsible for, what we're responsible for. Boy, this looks horrible up on that screen. We'll have to change the colors of that. We don't do the search for you. We will sit down and we will help you. We don't get you into colleges. Your grades, your transcripts, your GPA, your SAT scores, your essay, that's what gets you into college. But we would do our best to assist you in any way possible. So where to begin? In this workshop, we're going to discuss Naviance, which is our career and college search software program. We're going to talk about the college appraisal, matching self and school. And then we have a checklist of things that you should be accomplishing month by mid-April. Knowledge you should have and pay special attention to. And then we get into the testing information. So as I said earlier, there's 2 different types of college entrance exams, ACTs and SATs. ACT stands for American College Testing. We are not a test center for ACTs, but there are plenty of places in the area that are. It is a little bit different of a setup than the SATs. It is, instead of measuring reading and writing and math, it measures English, math, science, and writing. So there's 4 sections to it. It's on a different scale from the SATs. Usually when you put the scales up, put the scores from one test to the other, we put them up next to each other, students score comparably from one to the other. Every now and then, a student might do better in ACT because it's more subject-based. But we recommend you still stick with the SATs. And after you've taken the SATs, if you're not having a lot of success with them, we may recommend taking an SAT. But there's plenty of time to kind of squeeze all these in over time. Just a little note about testing, more is not better. Don't take every single test. The College Board's own statistics show without significant preparation from one test to the next, 2/3 of the people do not show any marked improvement on their scores. They're expensive to take. They're time-consuming, especially the SATs. We recommend taking the SATs twice, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, but there are your test dates and your registration deadlines for the ACTs. The SATs. We are a test center for 2 of the SATs, the May 4th SAT and the November 2nd SAT. They have not come out with the summer and fall schedules yet, other than the test dates. As soon as we get that, we'll get that information out to you. It'll probably be in the next workbook. We do recommend taking the the May SAT. March is a little early. The best prep students can do is work hard in your class and get as much under your belt in your class as you can. All of the students got back their PSAT scores. Hopefully they've set up their College Board accounts and they've linked it to Khan Academy, which is a fantastic free SAT prep program. College Board does not give anything away for free, so you've got to take great advantage of that. But with a little prep, your scores will go up. by using Khan Academy. It personalizes your SAT scores and gives you a tutorial based on your scores. So that is a really important piece if you need to get those, or you want to get those SAT scores up. The cost of the SATs is $47.50. You register for the SATs. You do not register through the school or the guidance office. You have to go to your College Board account, and you need to complete the registration form, and you need a credit card to make the payment. If you receive free or reduced lunch, see your guidance counselor, and we will make sure we get you a fee waiver form so you do not have to pay for the SAT. As far as taking the SAT with the essay, it's very individual to schools of whether or not they want the essay. The essay is a new piece to the SAT. Most of the schools that our students have applied to in the past couple of years have not required the essay. I'll let the admissions counselors that we have here tonight talk a little bit further about that. Try to avoid the late fees. Also, try to avoid registering at the last minute. Even though we're a test center, we have people that come from all over the area that want to test here at our school. And our students go to other schools. Once they fill up, we can only have we have to give them a number of how many people we can accommodate, and once those seats are filled, we can't let anybody else in, even if you go to this school. So it's important that you register early for those, so you make sure you secure your seat at the place you want to take it. So we do recommend taking the May SAT, and depending on your college deadlines, if you're applying early or regular decision, either the August, October, or November SAT. We're a test center in November also. So I wouldn't go back to back. I wouldn't go May and June. I would spread them out so you can do some prep work over the summer. SAT subject tests. How many people here have heard of SAT subject tests? Okay, not as well known. They're in specific subject areas. Math 2, biology, chemistry, it's a whole bunch of them. As I said earlier, more is not better when it comes to testing. There's probably about 75 colleges in the United States that require SAT subject tests, and maybe another 75 that recommend them. So if they're not recommended, then we recommend you don't take them. You can't take them the same day as the SAT, so that means you have to come in on another Saturday. They're $26 to register, and then $20 per test that you want to take. You can take up to 3. So as part of your college search, they're going to tell you, when you start reading the information, whether or not they require subject tests. If they do, they may say specific ones, or just say they want 1 or 2. But again, if they're not requiring it, we recommend you stay away from them. More is not better when it comes to testing. Anybody here interested in nursing? Hands. Okay, nursing is one of those programs that some colleges do require subject tests, not all colleges. And we actually have a student on our panel tonight that is thinking about nursing, so she can talk about that also. Okay, the guidance website. This is how you're going to get information about what's going on in guidance and to access the Naviance link. So this is what we do. We go to, I'm going to actually show you how to do this. And we're going to do a little college search on Naviance so you get a sense of how to do that. Has anybody here done a college search on Naviance yet? Okay. So we click on, this is the Middleborough High School webpage, About Us. Oops. And we go to Departments, and then we scroll down to Guidance. This is a new addition on the guidance webpage. It's our calendar, so there's tons of information about what's going on all throughout the course of the school year. But over here on the left-hand side, we're going to scroll down to Naviance. And then we're going to log in. and this is Navia. This is the home page that pops up. So over here on the left, we can put messages in for what's coming up in the future. What we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you how to do a college search. So we are going to actually go and click on colleges, and then we're going to click on colleges I'm thinking about. And then over here on the left-hand side, we're going to click Advanced College Search. And scroll down. So we're going to say we're looking for a four-year school. Now the thing about doing this search also is if you get very specific, there's over 6,000 colleges in Naviance. If you get too specific, you'll come up with 0. So only select the things that are absolute must for you. So for example, when you get to the sports and athletics, if you kind of like playing a sport, but you're happy tossing a ball around with your friends or playing intramural, don't check off that you want to play baseball or soccer or football. Because if the school doesn't have a program, then it's going to eliminate it from the search. So only check off the stuff that is an absolute must. So we're looking at a four-year school today. Large city, large town, small town, and rural. What I usually, this is a little tricky. UMass Amherst, up until a few years ago, the town of Amherst was considered a rural community, but UMass has over 20,000 students, so it's kind of a city unto itself. So usually what I tell people is if you don't see yourself as a big city person, a Boston, New York kind of person, then click everything except for large city. If you really have no preference, then leave it blank. So for the sake of argument today, we're going to go small city, large town, small town, and rural. And we're going to click co-ed. Now there's also one for religious affiliation. If that's important, then certainly click the drop box and find the religious affiliation that is important to you. Just keep in mind, there's not a lot of religious affiliated schools, so that will severely limit your search. So again, only if it's an absolute must. So you would not find a Bridgewater State in there, but you would find a Stonehill in there. I'm going to click next. Distance. We have a few different ways of doing this. We can go by zip code, so many miles from Middleborough, or we can click entire regions, or we can click individual states. So for our search, we're going to click Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island. And we're going to scroll down to next. Enrollment. This is a little misleading also. Anybody want to take a guess of what the average size college is? You can just shout it out. Loud.
5.
A little louder. 5 to 10? The average size college is about 5,000. Okay. So good job. There are a lot of great schools in that less than 2,000 range. Clark University is, I believe, hovering just under 2,000. And again, just because you see a school that has a big athletic program or they're on TV a lot doesn't mean that they're a big school. So for example, Boston College and Bridgewater State are pretty close in size. BC is slightly bigger. The big difference between those two schools is Boston College is a Division I athletic program. Bridgewater is a Division III and very comfortable. They have no intention of changing that. You don't see Bridgewater State on ESPN winning bowl games, but Bridgewater's athletic program for D3 has done incredibly well over the years. So just because you see a school on TV a lot here, it doesn't mean they're huge. University of Miami is another one. There's more professional football players that have come out of that school. There's probably about 6,500 people that attend that school, so it's smaller than Bridgewater. So for our search today, we are going to go and click these categories right here. I would skip minority background unless that is really important to you. I would skip residency and I would skip percent male or female. Those are things that are going to really limit your search. I would skip percent accepted for now, because that number isn't always an accurate reflection of how hard or easy it is to get into the school. Sometimes it has to do with how large or small the school is. They just don't have enough seats, so it makes it more competitive. I'm going to go next. And we're going to skip the sports and majors, kind of important. So we are going to search for a major by name. So let's do psychology tonight. And we're going to click go. And then we give a whole bunch of different types of psychology we can choose from. So let's pick a few here. Okay, and we're going to add the ones we selected. And we're going to click next. Cost is going to be an important factor, but let's not let cost limit our search right now. Let's let the financial aid process take its place, and then see if you could go to a more expensive school for what it would cost for a less expensive school. And we're going to skip special programs, which is primarily things like ROTC. And we're going to view the matches. And we're down to 26 matches from those over 6,000 schools. Here's our criteria right here. You can always change the criteria if you'd like. The first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to save our search. And you can see right here, we're going to save it right there. I put today's date, 2/7/19, psychology, and I just put Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire so I know what the criteria was. So it's saved forever now, it's in there. And then we're going to scroll down, and we're going to look, and we're going to say, gee, you know what, I'm interested in possibly, I'm going to click on Bridgewater to start with. Oh, that's not supposed to happen. What's going on with Bridgewater? Well, see, we went back to they've added some schools, they're up to 13,000 now. Wow, that's a lot of schools in 1 year. Okay, let's go back to our search. That's why you save your search. Start Bridgewater again. There we go. Now this is not Bridgewater's webpage. This is Navient still. If you want to go to Bridgewater's webpage, you can click right here. There's a direct link up here on the top. So this is the overview, and it gives you some basic information of the school. How much it costs, what the graduation rate is, the acceptance rate, and college overlaps are other schools that offer the similar programs. Over on the right-hand side where it says deadlines, if you click on that to see all the deadlines, it tells you if they have an early deadline of any kind, regular, priority, rolling. It tells you which ones that they operate under. We go back, and they give you a snapshot of what the school's like. It's a 4-year public school. How many people go? The student-faculty ratio is 19:1. It's in a suburb near a large city. And what types of programs. Down at the bottom, we have these cool little, what do you call these? Not graphs or charts, but it tells you, this is the middle 50% of the students who've been accepted to Bridgewater State. So it tells, so this arrow in the first one where it says GPA, it's in the green. That means our fictitious student that we're using tonight has a solid GPA to get into Bridgewater. Same thing with the SAT or PSAT, depending on which test they had taken most recently. And the overall average is looking fair, it says. Okay? If you want to compare to students that attended Middleborough High School, and these are actually real statistics from our school from the last 3 years, you can see that this student would fare pretty well in getting into Bridgewater. The other thing I want to show you on this is if we click over on the admissions tab and we scroll down, it will now take this student's GPA and either SAT or PSAT, whichever test they've taken most recently, and plot them with all the previous Middleborough students from the last 3 years that applied to Bridgewater. A green check mark is an acceptance. A red X is a rejection. You can see our students have done pretty well with Bridgewater. And then we have different kinds of circles. Green is waitlist accepted, blue is waitlisted unknown, red is just waitlisted denied. So, and then this little circle right here, with the little person in it, is our student. So basically, by looking at this, you can tell that this student stands a pretty good chance of getting into Bridgewater. So this is how you end up categorizing your colleges into the three categories of realistic, stretch, or safety. If this person was more down this way near the wait list, or if there were a bunch of X's down at the bottom of that graph, then you know that would be more of a stretch school. Okay? If they were way up in the top right-hand corner, then you know it's a safety school. So this should really help everybody in really being realistic, using data, national data and local data from previous students to see how they fared getting into some of these colleges. So strange things don't usually happen in the process. So you always have to make sure that you've got three levels of schools: realistic, stretch, and safety school, to cover your bases. So that's one of my favorite features on this. It really kind of brings it home and tells you where you're at with things. So we're going to go back to our search again. And after looking at Bridgewater, I'm thinking, hey, you know what? I'm interested in Bridgewater. I'm going to check Bridgewater off. And you know what? UMass Dartmouth is pretty close too. So I think I want to look at UMass Dartmouth. And let's see. Who else is on our list? Stonehill is. Let's look at Stonehill. So I click the boxes and I go back up to the top here. And the step-by-step instructions for all of this are in the handbook, in the workbook that you guys have. Now we're going to click the little heart where it says add to colleges I'm thinking about. And here they are. So now they're saved in colleges I'm thinking about. Eventually down the road, if you decide you want to apply to the schools, you check the box and you click to add to my colleges. Okay, we'll talk about that in another workshop. So that's how you navigate the search through Naviance. It's a great program. There's other searches out there you're going to find through College Board and other places. The nice thing about Naviance is all your information is in there already. So it really, it's kind of one-stop shopping. If you need something for your college search, hopefully everything has just been saved in this one spot. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is one of the forms you're going to have to fill out for your guidance counselor. And you're going to need this information when you're filling out applications. So let's go back to the home page. And we scroll down to the bottom where it says Document Resources. And the activity sheet is something that the students can start filling out now. All it is a list of the activities, primarily what they've been doing for the last 3 years. And of course it's not working. It's trying to save for some reason. So anyways, you can see what the activity sheet looks like in the workbook on page 7. It's just a way to list your athletics, your volunteer work, your part-time jobs, your community service, your clubs, anything that any honors you received. It's a place to list all those things. You're going to have to put those into your applications eventually, and you need to share this with your guidance counselor, who's going to be writing your letter of recommendation. So this is one of those little things you can get out of the way now and not be bogged down with when you come back as seniors and have to worry about all these little details. So I would encourage you to start working on that. Do not do it and save it in Google Docs. If you put it in Google Docs, it is going to make the formatting crazy and in some cases unreadable. Please save it as a Word document, and you can always go back and edit it. You can also save it in Naviance if you'd like too. On page 8, students always kind of sell themselves short, and they don't think what is an appropriate thing to list on that activity sheet. So we've come up with a list of school-related activities and some out-of-school activities that would be appropriate for you to list on that activity sheet. So it's a good starting point for you. Now, I mentioned that you're looking primarily over the course of your high school career. Please don't list, I did the Walk for Hunger once in 7th grade and you never did it again. The colleges don't really care about that. But if you have been doing horseback riding or dance or piano or Boys or Girl Scouts for a long period of time going previous to high school, certainly that shows a long-term commitment and you would want to include information like that. So, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and look at the self-appraisal on page 9. So over the course of the last few years, in advisory, we'd have you fill out some surveys. Some of you did it, some of you didn't, and we told you that it's important to do it because you're going to need that information when you're juniors. Here you are. So it's an opportunity for you to review, and we're going to go to the About Me tab, and we're going to click on My Assessments. And then you're going to see there all the different things, the Do What You Are, the Learning Style Inventory, Strength Explorer, Career Interest Profile, and the Cluster Finder are all things that we had presented to you, or the teachers had presented to you for us in your advisory. If you have not completed some of those, I would probably take some time over February vacation to do that, because that will help you kind of narrow the field down of what you might want to major in college if you haven't gotten that far yet. So that is something that you certainly would want to review and go over. Okay. Page 12, tips for visiting college. So we're going to be talking about that with the panel in a few minutes. But review some of the things here. This is going to be a whole new experience for most of you. Questions to ask when you go on campus. Some of these might seem silly, but you know, you're going to be on your own. You're not going to have your parents to take care of things for you. So it's important to make sure that you are asking questions that maybe you hadn't thought about before because it's just kind of done for you at home. And then getting on mailing lists and emailing lists. It's important. And creating files for everything and making sure you're organized in the whole process is going to be very important because you're going to get inundated with materials. And then finally at the end, mark your calendars. The Boston National College Fair is coming to the Boston Convention Exhibition Center on April 4th and April 5th. We usually run a field trip on that Friday, so that would be April 5th. So if you would like to go to that, you'll hear announcements coming up in the future, in a while, and make sure you get down to sign up for the field trip. We can only take about 40-45 people because we only get one bus, so it's first come, first served. Once we fill up, we fill up. But there are probably going to be over 300-400 colleges from around the world there. So it's a great opportunity to make contact and get some information, especially if it's a school that's a distance away. We will have part 2 of our college planning program. What you should be doing over the summer will be April 25th here at 6:30. Our college application boot camp is at the end of July, beginning of August. The dates will be announced towards the end of the year. And then we'll have college planning for seniors and their families, the nuts and bolts of applying to college in late September. And that is really just kind of wrapping things up and just taking care of little details. There is not going to be any information regarding financial aid tonight. There's nothing you can do about financial aid until October 1st next year. And we will have an expert that comes in for a night to focus specifically on financial aid. It's very complex, and we would not do it justice as guidance counselors trying to explain it to you. So we are going to have an expert come in and take care of that for you. You're going to start to hear a lot of words and acronyms coming up over the next year. So we have a glossary of terms in the back of the book. If you hear it, it's probably back there. If you hear it and it's not back there, email me and I will add it. And then on the back there's just a page to keep notes of what you're doing. So that is Naviats. Hopefully, I know it was long, but hopefully you got something out of that. As always, if there's any questions, email your guidance counselor, and they will be happy to sit down with you. Parents will be happy to sit down with you also if you'd like to come in and go over that. Hopefully you all got your Naviance cards today to set up your own accounts. If there was not a card for you, you most likely already set up an account, and will need to go back in and click on Forgot Password and reset your account. If you're still having problems with it, contact your guidance counselor. We can help you by resetting it for you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn to the panel and get that portion of the night going. So if we can get our panel to come up here, and we need some lights for the stage. Perfect. Could one of our tech guys shut down the LCD for me also, please? Okay, so this is our panel of experts here tonight. Starting from your far left, we have Heather Mello, who is the Senior Assistant Director of Admissions at Stonehill College. And then right next to her is Shannon Fernando Cole, who is the Admissions Counselor at Bridgewater State University. In the middle is our parent representative and also guidance secretary, Carrie Amaral. Carrie's coming from a little bit of a different perspective. Her daughter actually did not go to Middleborough High School, but she is a senior at another school, so she's just gone through the process. And Carrie, being our wonderful administrative assistant and guidance, sees it from both ends, so she is going to be a wealth of information for you. Next to Carrie, we have Madison Roberts, who is a senior, just went through the process, and next to her is Isabella Ventresca, another senior who's gone through the process, and they're going to talk about what they did and how it all went for them. So, we're going to start out with matching self in school and how to start going about doing that. And I'm going to throw it to one of our admissions counselors to talk a little bit about what students can do to best prepare themselves for that process.
Good evening. So I think when it comes to matching self with school, the place you want to start is really being honest with yourself. This is a process that you're going through, and a lot of your peers are going through it as well, and I think it can be really easy to default what we see other people doing or not trust our own intuition or confidence when it comes to the college search process. But it's really important that you do so, because this is a stage of your life where you really are shaping your future and gaining that sense of independence, and you want to make sure that you choose an institution that's really going to help you cultivate yourself into the best person that you can be, and to find a rewarding career and passion and profession. So it's really, really important to be very thoughtful and very honest with yourself as you jump into this process. And Naviance is such a great tool, and I think the answer to this question really comes back to a lot of the things that we just walked through, and Naviance helps you do that in such an easy, clear, and great way. So thinking first of all about your future and what you might be interested in doing as a career or as a profession, and how that relates to the major that you're going to choose, and making sure that the institutions that you're applying to offer programs that are going to be of interest. And I know that right now, you might not know exactly what you want to do, and that is perfectly fine and perfectly okay, and I know that might make the college process seem a little more intimidating, but that's perfectly normal and natural. And I think the important thing is just making sure that you're finding an institution that, if you're not 100% sure that there's one thing you want to commit to, that has multiple options that might be appealing to you, and has some flexibility maybe in terms of being able to change your major down the road, and has good mentoring and advising, resources and support. Those are all things that you want to look out for. And then of course the other factors, what size institution is going to be the best fit for you. Do you want to be in a lecture hall with tons of other students, or do you prefer learning in a smaller, intimate environment where you can really get to know that faculty member, really contribute to the classroom dialogue, and really foster those relationships that might be a little bit more difficult to do with faculty if you're at a larger institution. So there's really no right or wrong answer. I think it's just learning about thinking about what dynamic is really best for you and how you learn best, and again, what you think that you need in that process. And then the setting, the location, extracurricular activities. It's not just about your academics, but what do you want to do outside of the classroom, and making sure that the school has opportunities for you to plug into those things as well. So obviously there are a number of factors to consider, but I think the most important thing is going back to the first point of just really sitting down and being honest with yourself about what is going to make you the happiest, what's going to be the best fit for you in the long run.
Excellent answer. Thank you so much, Heather. Just to kind of echo off of a little bit what she said, there's obviously a lot of factors to consider. So just remaining true to what it is that you value, what it is that you're interested in. As she said, academics are only part of it. So extracurriculars, if sports or dance or band or things like that are super important to you, just making sure that the school has that available to you. Considering distance from home. Some people want to travel, they want to gain that independence and move halfway across the country, and some people want to stay within Massachusetts or within New England, and that's perfectly fine. And I still think there's ways to gain that independence while staying local. So that's something to think about as well as on-campus, living on-campus opportunities. So making sure that the school, if you want to live on campus, making sure that they offer that for you. Do they guarantee it all 4 years? That's something to think about as well. And if they don't, do they have off-campus housing available? Is that something that's, kind of blooming there for students for the campus community as well? And cost obviously is a big thing, so making sure that you're considering cost, as Mr. Goldman said. Don't let it kind of overrule your thinking or rule anything out for you, because you never know what the financial aid aspect is going to look like, and that's something that I always encourage students to not let the cost deter you. You never know what opportunities are going to come out for you to make these different educational opportunities possible for you, so definitely something to think about.
Hi. So yes, we basically started out probably the spring of my daughter's junior year. She did start off just searching online, the internet, about different schools. She did know, or I say did because she's already in, but did know what she wanted to major in, so that helped narrow down matching, schools with her. She also knew that she didn't want to be far from home, which was another big factor, so that also helped narrow things down. But basically, just start researching. The earlier, the better, because believe it or not, it does creep up on you. I suggest, different types of things. Even going to maybe have a conversation with your guidance counselor. Many different factors, which they mentioned actually already, play a role in it. But definitely starting early, and definitely looking at what is going to be the best fit for you, and not always looking at costs and things like that, because again, there is so much out there that is available, and you never know with financial aid and things like that. Things definitely are possible, which I'm finding out now with my daughter. Again, sports, things like that, try to look at the whole package. There's tons of stuff when you go online for different colleges. The click of a button, you have all the information right there. I do suggest, tonight I did suggest as people were walking in, starting a binder with just the stuff that you gathered tonight. It is important to stay organized, even just when you're trying to match a college. Writing pros and cons maybe that you've, gathered online and things like that, and just conversations with other people. Another thing that's also helped my daughter and I is she has some older friends and things like that have always been through the process and are at different schools, so she's been able to, kind of have conversations with them too, as far as what their schools have to offer, and, so I do suggest keeping an open mind to different schools and things like that, because sometimes you'd be surprised, you might have thought you were going to go one way, but you actually end up going another way. So just keep an open mind, stay organized, ask lots of questions, reach out to people. There's lots of resources, and the guidance department here is great about just helping out and reaching out to different people.
Well, I'm going to throw it to our students. Last year too. What were some of the things that you guys did in trying to find the right fit for school?
When I started applying, I wanted to go to schools when there was people on the campus and not over the summer, because I went to a few over the summer and I didn't get the full experience or feel for that school because I didn't know how many people were there. But I did tour a lot of schools in September, October, and that helped me figure out what type of school I wanted, what size school I wanted. For me, I knew what major I wanted, so that really helped me narrow down the search. At first, I started looking online, and I made a spreadsheet on pros and cons of colleges that I was interested in based on my major, and then from that, I narrowed the list down, and then I toured those colleges that I wanted to actually apply to, so that really helped me.
I love spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are great. What you have to do, though, I don't know if you guys did this or not when you were visiting colleges, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is did you take any notes? Or any, okay, so Mrs. Amaral is yelling, is shaking her head, yes. Whether it's on your phone or just have a small little notepad and a pen, but just jot things down that you liked and you didn't like. Things that are jumping out at you and standing out. And then when you get home, put it into a spreadsheet. Okay, and don't, do it right away so the information's there, you don't forget any of the important facts. This way, by the time you finish doing all of that, you'll have a really good, they offer this, I absolutely didn't like this, but I did like this at that school. So it's important to make sure that you're doing a thorough search when trying to find that right fit for you. It could be a very expensive mistake if you just kind of rush through the process and not do a thorough job. So sometimes things don't work out, but if you can avoid that, then just try to do a thorough job, be organized in the process. Let's talk a little bit about the interview and the visit. Some schools don't do interviews anymore, but I'll let our admissions folks talk about that.
So, as we talked about there being so many different factors, one thing I advise students to do is to visit as many schools as possible. I think when you're looking and doing your research on paper, a lot of these schools offer some similar things, so it's hard to kind of differentiate and set them apart. So the visit is really what's going to set it apart for you. You're going to be able to get a feel for the campus, for the student body, see what the campus looks like, and try to envision yourself being there for the next 4 years. So I think it's an excellent opportunity to expose yourself to what these campuses are like and the feeling that you get when you're on campus. And to me, I think it truly is a feeling. You get a feeling when it's the right fit for you. And I think it's so important to visit schools because 9 times out of 10, the students are the ones who are leading the tour, and they're living that college experience that you're aiming for. So it's a great opportunity to ask any questions that you have about anything on campus, and they're more than happy and eager to answer them for you. For Bridgewater specifically, we don't require an interview. We actually don't even offer interviews, but we do always have admissions counselors in the office, and when we offer our tours, we let all the visitors know that they are there. If they have any questions, any specific questions that the tour guides may not be able to answer about the admissions process, we're always more than happy to do that. You can also call and email us too. We're very happy to answer any questions you guys have about the process. But again, I feel the visit is so crucial because you're really getting that experience. And as the student said, it's so important to see what the campus looks like with students on campus to get a feel for what that student body is like. It's definitely still a great opportunity during the summer to come and see the different campuses, but during February and April vacation, it's definitely a really great opportunity to see the campus booming with life and activity and things going on.
I would definitely agree. I think there are a lot of things that are hard to gauge just by looking at a school's website, and you might have an idea of what you think you want in a school, but then you actually get there and it feels completely different than what you had imagined, and it can really be a deciding factor. So I think as much as possible, getting on the campuses to start off of as many different types of schools can be really valuable just to help you narrow and kind of hone in your search process of what type of environment is going to be the best fit. And then maybe once you have determined that, then go back and visit those schools again and really dig in a little bit deeper. Schools offer all different kinds of visits. They'll have open houses, which are really large, where you'll be on campus with hundreds of other people and able to take a tour, but it's a little bit less personal. Schools have their general information sessions and campus tours that can really range in size. There are shadow days oftentimes that are offered where you can come to campus and actually go to class with a current student and see what that's like and maybe even take lunch on campus. And then of course interviews, which are really different at every institution, where some schools don't offer them, other schools require them at the other end of the spectrum. And then schools like, for instance, at Stonehill, we don't require them, but we do offer them, and they're actually led by current students who will complete the evaluation. And a little bit of advice regarding the interview, I will say the worst interviews, just to be frank, are the ones where students come in and they approach it like it's a test, and we're looking for specific answers, and because of that, they're almost afraid to really engage because they don't want to say the wrong thing. That's really the worst way to approach the interview, because it's really not a test. It's just an opportunity for either the student or the admission counselor that you're meeting with to get to know you on a more personal basis. And so the more energy and interest and engagement that you bring to that meeting, the better the interview is going to go. And the more that you can share, sometimes without even being prompted by the person you're speaking with, the better. So while that person will have some questions for you, oftentimes related to academics and your involvement and your interest in the school, it's also good to take a proactive approach and treat it like a conversation that you're really excited to have and show your enthusiasm for that institution. And those end up being the best types of interviews that I've had. And you can certainly set yourself apart in that process because you're having a really personal interaction. And when we can sense that someone's really excited about the school and has done their homework and done their research, then it gets us really excited about you. The interview is also a great opportunity if you do have any sort of extenuating circumstance or additional context that you want the admission office to know about that might not be so easily explained in your application. It can be a great chance to come in and share that on a more personal level. So that's just another little tip. If you feel like that might apply to you, the interview can definitely be a great thing to pursue if it's offered at the schools that you're looking at. But certainly get out there, visit, ask those questions. Don't be afraid to veer off. You might go on the official tour, but maybe afterward hang around in the dining commons and see what the students are talking about, or see what the vibe is like, or wander around on your own. Make those connections, and really being really immersed in the environment of the school is going to best help you get a sense of that culture and really determine if it's a place you can see yourself spending several really important years of your life.
Thank you, Heather. And I have to reiterate what you said about kind of breaking off and taking a walk around campus. I worked at Bridgewater State for 6 years, and I worked at the University of New Hampshire for a year also. And I can tell you that in my experience, the admissions folks are great, but they're not there 24 hours a day. Okay, so they don't necessarily know what life is like, after hours when they're at home. Okay, I mean they're around a lot. I know you guys work a long hours and everything, but to really kind of get in touch with the culture and everything, talk to the students, not just the admissions, the students giving you the official tours. When you walk through the cafeteria, talk to people. I know that can seem kind of awkward and uncomfortable. You're walking across the quad, you see people tossing a ball around. Hey, how do you like going to school here? Those are you want to talk to the people that aren't selling you anything. The people who just the regular guy or girl that's there, and will tell you what the good, the bad, and the ugly is. And it's up to you to decide whether or not that's going to be the right fit for you. You know, when you look, as you saw in a couple of those slides that we had of the schools, everybody's smiling. They're all wearing their college shirts. It's always a sunny day. You know, so, you know, you have to get out on the campus and really see the campus and get a sense of, you know, is this really what I'm seeing in the pictures here? And sometimes it might be, and sometimes it might not be. And what might be the best school for you might be the worst choice for your best friend. And so it's really important that you find a place that's going to be the right fit for you as an individual. To our admissions counselors, what is appropriate dress attire for a visit or an interview?
You're making an impression, so you want to look your best. I don't know that you need to go as far as putting on a formal suit, but I would say at least dressing business casual and trying to present yourself as, you know, as best as you possibly can is an important step to take. Because again, it is an evaluation of sorts, and you want to demonstrate that you're taking it seriously and you're putting your best foot forward. And I think the way you present yourself is a really easy way to do that.
Madison and Bella, can you talk a little bit about the visits you did and what you noticed from school to school?
So all the colleges I toured, their tours were very specific and general. They weren't really major specific. So for me, I know when we would reach like the engineering building, my family and I would like veer away from the tour, and we would walk through the building and talk to students that weren't part of the tour, that actually attended the college, and that was very helpful for me. They answered many of my questions, and it was very different from the kind of cookie cutter answers that the tour guides might be giving. It was very real information, and I found it very beneficial. And each college has a unique quality about it, so I think that's interesting to find out what each college has to offer.
One of the things I thought was very helpful was the information sessions between each college, because those helped a lot with figuring out like how much a school costs, how many students, just the basic information that each college had that differed. And the going off of Bella, I did a few sessions based on like nursing, but there wasn't a ton of schools that offered certain information sessions. But I started to notice, like once I started getting acceptance letters, that the schools offered those information sessions. For example, tomorrow I'm going to South Regina for their nursing one, so it's specific on the major.
I know Mrs. Amaral had some interesting visits to colleges.
Yes, and I actually, they're making very good points. The information sessions I found very helpful, but if you know what you want to go to the school for, I highly recommend going to one specific towards your major. And the other thing also is trying to write down the stuff at each college, because it does get a little overwhelming when you're making several visits. I don't know if that happened with you, but with my daughter, she had to start writing things down and kind of keeping things separated, because you sit there and you try to think, oh, wait a minute, no, that was that college, oh, that was that college. So if you come home from the visit within a day or two, if you write down specific things, about that school that you liked, you disliked, it just helps keep things organized. Especially, we've actually gone back a couple of different times to each of the schools that she's really thinking about. And she's been able to kind of add things and cross things off, and it really helped us narrow down, the specific school she really can see herself at. And that did happen. We, a couple of the schools we did go to, she just sat and just said, I can see myself here. Whereas some that we would go to, she was like, nope, this is not for me. So you really do get a sense of what you like and what you dislike, and especially talking with all the students. I recommend talking to a lot of them. They really do help, help you navigate through the school and they know everything. I mean, a lot of the times the students that are doing the tours and things are mostly juniors, upperclassmen that have been there for a little bit, so they really know the campus and things that go on there, and it's very helpful. And staying organized after each visit is definitely key in helping you make decisions.
I know a lot of students over the years have told me they go on that first visit, and it's the first time they've been on a college campus, and a lot of times it's the first time they've been far further away from home than they used to. And they're like, oh, it's awesome, this is it, this is where I'm going to go, and they're in love. Until the second visit to another school, until the third visit for the next, then by the time they hit the fourth or the fifth one, like, what was I thinking with that first one? So, you're probably gonna, it's different, it's exciting, it's gonna be, a step towards independence, and all kinds of great things, and so it's really important to make sure that you're kind of keeping things in perspective and just kind of keeping those notes and make sure that you're finding yourself in the right environment. And then as you get those acceptances or rejections, as sometimes the case may be, or you don't get the financial aid package that you would hope to get, that second visit or third visit back sometimes either seals the deal or eliminates the school from the list. One other thing, going back to the interview, there aren't a lot of schools that do it anymore. Some of the smaller schools tend to really want to get to know their students and really encourage the interview. If the school is offering an interview, as uncomfortable as that might make you feel, take advantage of it, okay? Come down to guidance, talk to your guidance counselor. We will help you go over some questions and things to expect. The most common question you're probably going to get, and it trips everybody up, is, tell us a little bit about yourself. You guys probably see that a lot. And they're like, oh my God, what do they want me to tell them? They want you to tell them about yourself. I'm a junior in high school. I play soccer. I like playing guitar on the side. I'm the oldest of 3 children. This is my, this is what I'm thinking about majoring in. I like this part of the country, whatever it might. They just want to get a little sample of who you are as a person. It's not a trick question, okay? Take a deep breath and go in there and keep this in mind. As much as they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them. Remember one thing, you're buying the product. Okay? You better find out what it is that you're getting for that very expensive ticket price. So don't be afraid to ask questions. If you're not sure how to word them, come down and see us, and we will help you prepare for an interview, okay? But it's not, and we've all gone through it, okay? But just don't be afraid of it. It's an important piece for them to get to know you and for you to get to know them. Okay, so why don't we move along to the application and the essay process. I'm sure as admissions counselors, although mostly everything is electronic now, I remember back in the day when things were handwritten and thrown in book bags for a week with coffee stains and curled up corners. But appearance and how things are done are very important. So why don't you talk about the importance of the materials that are being submitted by the students?
So again, I think it goes back to taking this process really seriously and recognizing that whether it's presenting yourself or the materials that you're submitting, that you want to make the best impression and you want to appear professional and that you're taking the process seriously. So when it comes to the application, I mean, you want to be very thorough, you want to read each section, you want to complete it well, you want to be very detail-oriented, you want to pay attention to your writing. That's obviously critical and something that we're going to be looking really closely at. And of course, there's the formal essay that you're writing as part of the common application. Oftentimes, schools will have a supplemental question that you might answer, and a lot of times I see the thoughtfulness with the essay, and then when it comes to the other piece, some of that goes to the wayside, and I see a bit of a discrepancy there. But I just want to reiterate that each and every piece of that application is being reviewed and is being looked at closely, and we don't have a lot of time to spend with applications, to be honest, because we receive so many of them. So we have to approach each one thoroughly but also quickly, and so you only get a small window of time to really make a strong impression, and you don't want any mistakes or carelessness to detract from your application. You want to put that best foot forward. You want to present every piece as best as you can, and recognize that this is how we're really getting to know you as an applicant, and this is the material that we're using to make our admission decision. So you do really want to take your time with it, and take it very seriously, because it can ultimately impact what decision is made at the end of the day. So all those details are really, really critical.
I also recommend asking questions for each of the schools that you are interested in about deadlines, priority deadlines, if they do early action or early decision, and understanding the differences between those. And you know, if you're super eager about a school, making sure that you are meeting those deadlines. And as Heather said, just being really cautious that you are kind of reviewing what you're submitting and that it's all accurate. Also asking about what's required. You know, do you need to have the personal statements and the letters of recommendation? Are SATs or ACT scores optional, or are they required? Knowing what is expected of you, and also kind of what those admission standards are. So what are they looking for a GPA? What are they looking for their test scores? So that you know when you're applying if you're aligning with, you know, what the school's looking for, what the school requires of you, so that you can aim to get those test scores or to boost that GPA up and things like that. And I also would recommend, if you have interaction with the school, I've seen a lot of emails from students, you know, in the time that I review applications, and I sometimes get those emails from students and they just go, here's my SAT scores. And I don't know what their name is, I don't know anything about the student, so I don't know where to put that information that they've given me. So I always recommend a professional email to any of the schools that you're interacting with, introducing yourself and your full name, and letting them know like what it is that you're submitting and things like that. So always just maintaining that professional kind of interaction with the school. It definitely leaves an impression, and it helps for later on down the line if you're visiting the school and you say, hey, you know, I've been emailing back and forth with you, and you kind of make that connection with the admissions staff too. So like I said, it definitely leaves an impression.
So when we're talking about the thoroughness and the appropriateness of the essay and the application, the one thing that we see all the time is no capitalization, poor punctuation, no dashes between digits in the phone numbers. They're all laughing. This is not a text message. This is a very important document, not to make it overly dramatic, but it's a very important document to get you where you want to go. You need to put the time in and present yourself appropriately, okay? You want to do those things, and I do that with my text messages, but when I'm doing something official, I make sure that I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's, okay? It's very important, okay? It is an impression. Okay, and if there's only a few spots left, and we got this person that took the time to do it, and this person that didn't take the time to do it, and their grades are pretty much the same, guess who's getting the slot? Okay, so it's really important. Let's talk a little bit about the common application. Stonehill's on the common application. Bridgewater just went on the common application this year after they swore they would never go on. But do you still have your own application also at Bridgewater? Okay. So can you talk a little bit about what the differences are between the two applications?
Sure, yeah. So for students that are really interested in Bridgewater and maybe, you know, it's one of the only schools you're applying to, or you just are super eager, you do have that option to spend a little extra time and fill out our application. It's right on our website, but we are more than happy to accept the Common App as well. It is obviously easy and convenient for students when you're applying to so many different schools that you just kind of check the box and add it to your list of schools that you're sending it to. We do still have all of our supplemental questions that are on our regular application will still come up on the Common App, so you're still hitting everything on that application. It just depends on, you know, time and how much time you're willing to commit to the application process. If you really are super busy with your schoolwork and things like that, and you just want to fill out that one uniform application, you're more than welcome to do that. Again, we're never going to turn down an application, no matter how you send it to us. But either one is an excellent option.
Okay, so just to be clear, there is no advantage on using the institution's own application over the common application. Okay, so there's a lot that comes up. People think they're getting bonus points because I'm using the school's application. They want you to maximize your time, okay? So if you have more than one school that is on the common application, and there's just over 700 colleges and universities now that are on this one common application, then use it and save yourself a heck of a lot of time filling out applications. It's one essay. The only difference is you have a few supplemental questions to answer at the end, but it will save you a whole lot of time. Early action and early decision. Can our admissions folks talk a little bit about the benefits of that and what they are and all?
Sure. So you often have lots of choices when it comes to submitting your application and the deadline that you want to go with. So early action is a great way to submit your application earlier on, just like it sounds. And then you have until May 1st, which is the national appointment deadline, to make your decision to attend that institution. But what's different about a regular decision is that if you apply early action, you would hear back from the institution a little bit earlier. So you have more time between when you submit the application, when you hear back, and then the May 1st commitment deadline to make your decision. So it's a wonderful way to get those applications submitted early, get that documentation in, get that stress off your shoulders, and then kind of sit back, wait to hear from the schools, and give yourself a little more time with the decision-making process. The difference between early action and early decision is that early decision, while you're still applying early, is a binding commitment. So you are saying by submitting your application early decision that you are definitely attending that institution if they admit you. So you're making a stronger commitment up front. So in that case, you're not waiting until May 1st. You are essentially deciding when you submit your application that this school is your #1 choice. And again, that you're definitely committing there if the school does admit you. So it's really critical to know the difference between the two. If you are applying early decision, there is a contract that you do submit to abide by the rules and regulations and guidelines of that decision process. ED can be a great way to show really strong interest in an institution. That's really the strongest expression of interest that you can make, because you're saying with your application, this school is my #1 choice. So especially at some of the more competitive institutions, it can be a great way to go. It can be really beneficial, but you have to be very comfortable with the commitment that you're making. So you want to be really, really clear about that, and knowing that there's often a financial piece that goes with that as well. Again, with early action, you're just submitting early, but it's non-binding. So it's really the binding piece that is the difference between the two. So again, EA, early action, is non-binding, and ED, early decision, is binding. And then schools often have regular decision deadlines, which are later, typically in January or sometimes by February 1st. And those can be great if maybe you're a student who is doing your best work in your senior year. Maybe you got a little bit of a late start. Freshman and sophomore year were a little bit more of a struggle, but you've really found your sense of self and hit your stride, and you're doing really well now, and you want to make sure that colleges are seeing those senior year grades when they take their first look at your application, or for whatever reason you just need a little more time to get that documentation together, then regular decision can be another good option. And with regular decision, just like early action, it's non-binding, and you have until May 1st to decide if you're going to attend or not.
As Heather said, it definitely shows some extra interest in the school if you're applying early action or early decision. Some schools have a little bit more leniency too. I know like for Bridgewater, typically we're looking at a 3.0 GPA, and then if you have your test scores, we'll look at those. And when we get into regular decision, that GPA really does count, but in early action, if you have that 3.0 without any other documentation, we can admit you just with that alone. And we're not going to deny you in the early action phase, and I know that's the case for a lot of schools, is that you're not going to necessarily get denied in that early action phase. But if you're prepared and want to submit, I definitely encourage you to do that. There are a lot of perks to it. Again, like Heather said, you still have until May 1st to decide, and not getting to hear back from the school sooner is obviously an added perk, and to know that you're not necessarily getting, you're either going to get an acceptance or a deferral to the regular decision applicant pool. So that's kind of nice to know that you're not going to get rejected that in that early phase, and it does give you time. We tell you, most schools will tell you, you know, we need your quarter 2 grades, or if you've taken the test scores again, you're testing again, send the updated test scores so we can look at that again. And it gives you kind of a second chance to make sure that you have everything in that the school needs to see from you in order to give you a decision. And again, like I said, it just shows that extra interest, and that's never harmful. So excellent, definitely an excellent choice if you are prepared, which it sounds like Middleborough has this boot camp program that really does help prepare students to be ready for those early action and early decision deadlines.
Good transition. Let's talk about the boot camp a little bit. Both of our student panelists attended the boot camp this summer. So if you can talk a little bit about that process, if it was worth your time, what you got accomplished during that period of time.
The boot camp to me was very beneficial because I went in and I had no idea what I was writing about, nothing. But one of the English teachers is there, and she walks you through the prompts that you can do, and she helps you form your essay, and then you write your essay over the course of the week. And then you have time to edit it, fix it, and by the end of the week, you have your essay done. So that was really good, knowing that I had my essay done going into senior year, because I didn't have to stress about how I was going to write it, what I was writing about. So it was very helpful for me, and I really recommend that any student does the boot camp.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Madison. I actually began doing my common application in May because I took enough AP classes, I had enough time to actually start filling out the application itself. So when I went to college boot camp, all I needed to do was write an essay and submit it. And I fortunately finished it in the first day, and Miss Davis, the teacher who runs the program, was nice enough, and she started helping me with my supplemental essays. So I got a lot of stress and the main essays out of the way, so then I could focus on the school year that was coming up and figuring out what I still needed to do in preparation for college.
Thank you. So just to tell you a little bit more about the boot camp. The boot camp was it 4 days?
It was 5.
5 days. Okay. So it was 5 days. I spent the first 4 days with the English teacher going over the essay, writing drafts, rewrites. The teacher was actually up all night long, all week, grading all these for all the students. We had I think we had about 65 students attend boot camp this past summer. But they had very, very well-written essays. They were solid essays. The last day of boot camp, and the boot camp isn't all day, it was how many hours in the morning or in the afternoon?
I think it's 2 hours a day.
Okay, so you had a choice between a morning session or an afternoon session, and we ran 4 different groups. It's usually the last week of July, first week of August. The last day is with the guidance counselors, and that's when we open up the Common App with the students, if they haven't already done so. And we go step by step, line by line with them over the Common App, answer their questions, make sure they're filling things out appropriately and correctly. And their essays, since they're already done, they can upload right into the Common Application. By the time they're done with boot camp, they are probably, I would say, 90% complete in the process, would you say?
Yeah.
Just wrapping up the little details at the end, right? Teacher recommendations, getting the forms to the guidance counselor, right? and then maybe that last minute school that you came across that you wanted to look at or apply to, which is nice, especially for our 2 students here, which are they're AP students, and they get some pretty heavy-duty coursework, and they want to, of course, we have to send out first quarter and mid-year grades, and all that gets recalculated back in with to the GPA on the college end of things. So to be able to have all that stuff done and out of the way before school even starts, now all they have to do is just focus on their academics and enjoy their senior year. So it is, I think any student that's gone through the boot camp highly, highly recommends it. It costs around $75. We do offer fee waivers for people on free or reduced lunch. You know, we come in too in the summer also, and it's well worth our time to come in because it really saves all of us a lot of time later on to be able to process things and just get them out and move on to the next phase of things. So, some final thoughts before we wrap up the evening. If we can just go down the line here and each person give their little advice of what they would recommend to do in this process, that would, I think, be beneficial for our audience.
Sure. So I would say, reiterating some of the things I've already mentioned, taking it very seriously, being self-reflective, being really thoughtful, being detail-oriented, approach it with a sense of organization and purpose, and also just getting really excited about it because this is such a great time of your life and you're stepping out on your own and you're getting a chance to pursue your passions and your dreams, and you're going to form great new relationships. And I know going through the process initially can feel a little intimidating and overwhelming at times, and there's a lot of paperwork to get through, but the ultimate reward on the other side of that is so significant, and again, just so exciting for you that it really is worth your while. So when you feel like you're kind of dredged down in the Common App, just think ahead to where you're going to be in the next year and the exciting opportunities that you're going to have, and you know, really put your heart into it. College is an amazing time of life where you have all of these different opportunities to get outside of your comfort zone and really take advantage of that. You know, push yourself to do things that maybe you never thought you would try. And I guess I would say, don't expect things to happen for you or to you. Really take the reins and make them happen, and really just dive into it with your full excitement and your full energy, and good things are bound to happen, I think, if you approach it that way. So really go into it making the most of it. I think college really is what you make of it and what you bring to it. So no matter where you end up, it's going to be a great situation if you bring the right attitude and you bring your best self and you really put yourself out there. So I'm so excited for all of you as you look ahead, and certainly all of us admission professionals are happy to be supportive at all the institutions that you're looking at. So don't be afraid or hesitant to reach out and make those connections even at this point in time as you start to plan your journey. So best wishes and best of luck.
I couldn't agree more. I think just making sure that you weigh all the different opportunities, really exposing yourself to as many experiences as you are able to, really utilizing your resources. So don't be afraid to go to your guidance staff and ask questions. Also, don't be afraid to contact the schools. That's what we're here for. We want to answer those questions. And you know, if you guys are making your way out to college fairs, don't be afraid to ask any of your questions. There are no silly or no questions that we haven't heard before. So definitely make sure to utilize your resources in that. Try to manage your time well, because as everybody here has said, it does sneak up on you. So really try to make sure that you're staying on top of everything. And again, just seeking help from your guidance staff. They do an excellent job here of preparing you and making sure that you're getting things done in a timely fashion. And just enjoy the ride, like Heather said. It may be overwhelming, but this is an exciting opportunity and experience for you all. So really just take advantage of everything and have fun. Good luck to you all.
From a parent's perspective, I guess my one thing of advice would be So you definitely want to support your child in this whole process, but actually give them the responsibility to take it upon themselves to get things done, to organize. Every student needs, some help with things, but in my experience, I would kind of guide her, but actually she's done everything on her own. It's made her more independent. It's gotten her a little bit more independent in knowing that she is ready for college, and she will be, she will do okay on her own, because as we all know, a lot of students do go away. And that's a big thing when they go away. It's a little bit of a shock. So kind of preparing them and helping them, guiding them, but yet, making sure that they get everything done on their own and taking the initiative to do so. And again, utilizing all their resources and things here at school, asking questions, all of that is going to only, help them in the long run, and starting early. The earlier you start, the better. It's not as overwhelming. You have a little more time in between to think about things and kind of get your head on straight if it starts to get a little bit overwhelming. So that would be another suggestion, is to make sure that your child is starting in a timely manner, so they don't get overwhelmed and are able to get through the process, and feel good about it.
My piece of advice, I definitely agree. You should definitely start early. I wish I started a little earlier. I started basically when boot camp started, but I wish I took the time to fill out the Common App a little sooner. But I also recommend applying early action, because for me, I knew what I wanted to do, so that helped me. And I've gotten all my acceptance letters back already, so now I just have that time to figure out where I want to go. And the early action, if you have everything in, it's better to do it now, so then you can focus on more of the scholarship part of it, right around now when the scholarships are due. So that's helpful. And the other thing is definitely take your internships seriously. I interned at Toby Hospital and I loved it, and I got them they offered to write a recommendation letter for me for college, so that definitely helped with my application.
Yeah, I would also recommend starting early on everything. I started my common application in May, which was perfect for me, but then I started procrastinating by the time school started again, and I had a lot of supplemental essays that I had to write. Just get them out of the way, put the time and effort into them early, so that you can just relax, focus on academics and extracurriculars, and just enjoy senior year instead of stressing about college things.
Thank you. And my advice is, and the students hear me say this all the time, you get out of it what you put into it. You do half the work you need to, you're going to get half the response back. Okay? If you don't fill out the forms for guidance or for the schools, then they don't get the information that they really need to really help you in the process. So take advantage of the resources. There's plenty of resources around here at the school and around and about. Get out and start visiting colleges. April vacation is an awesome time. The weather is usually a little bit better. People are out of their rooms and about the campus. If you have to do an interview in the summer, a visit in the summer, do it. If it's a school that maybe is pretty far away that you have to travel to, do it. But you're not going to get the same feel for the campus without many students around. They're very different in the summertime. Talk to students and just enjoy the process. It's not a hard process. It's just a very long and detailed process, and stick to the timelines that we give you. Utilize these workbooks, read these workbooks. Mrs. Amaral gets questions. We all get questions, but they hit her first. And she goes, have you read the book yet? Okay? 99% of the questions you have are in that workbook, spelled out line by line, step by step with pictures, so I can't make it any simpler. We were going to call it College Planning for Dummies, and we figured that probably wasn't a good name for it. So utilize them, okay? Before we wrap up for the evening, I just want to ask that you take out your evaluation form on the gold paper. If you need something to write with, our intern Megan Moriarty has pencils. Just raise your hand if you need something to write with, and she will come and find you. You can drop the evaluations and the pencils in the boxes by the exit. There's 2 boxes on each side of the door. A few thank yous before we call it a night. Actually, are there any questions? We didn't even ask if there are any questions. Yes, we have a question down here.
Is scholarships part of the financial planning?
No, scholarships and financial aid are 2 separate things. The the financial aid workshop is going to be in October. The scholarship launch is actually this Tuesday for our seniors, so a year from Tuesday for you guys, okay? That's 2 separate processes. Good question. Any other questions out there? I can't see. Okay, well, I'm going to be here for a while after. The admissions folks will be here for a few minutes, but, you know, everyone has to get up and go to work tomorrow. Bummer. So if you can, like I said, if you can just take a few minutes to give us some feedback and drop that off, we want to thank you for coming, especially Heather Mello, is Senior Assistant Director of Admissions, Stonehill College. Shannon Fernando Cole, Admissions Counselor at Bridgewater State University. Carrie Amaral, our parent representative. Madison Roberts and Isabella Vantresca, our seniors. Sean Siciliano and his tech crew for setting us up here. The MHS custodial staff for the setup and cleanup, and Megan, our intern, who came back tonight. Thank you for all your help also, and especially you folks for coming out. So thank you again. I hope you got something out of this. And if you have any questions, we will